So in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how do you structure your day in a manner that you can make most amount of money in the day. So how do you reorganize and structure your tasks, your day, and how do you organize it in a way that you can make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time? And this is something that has worked for me. I've seen this, a lot of high-profile executives, top lawyers, even a lot of bankers use these strategies, including high-profile figures like Warren Buffett. And I was watching a video recently with Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, and the interviewer asked Bill Gates, "What's the best advice that you've received from Warren Buffett?" And he said that one of the days he checked Warren Buffett's calendar and he saw blank spaces in that calendar. And he was like, that's one of the best lessons I've received, is the power of saying no. So it's not just about mindlessly doing one activity after the other, or just finishing tasks. You actually have to say no to tasks. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is to say, no, I'm not going to do it. And it may sound a little bit weird or counterintuitive because we want to do more, but sometimes less is more. Sometimes saying no to the wrong thing makes you available to do the right thing eventually. And one of the things that you want to do is, once you write down your tasks, you have to decide what tasks you're not going to do ever. So there's going to be a set of tasks, maybe that your family has provided you with a list to do, your spouse has provided, whatever it is, whoever it is that has provided that list. I want you to assign a dollar value to that task. So let's say, okay, go for grocery shopping. How much money do you get paid to do that? Or do dishwashing, or pick up laundry, or some task of this nature. Even work-related tasks, compile a list of doing this, or whatever it is. Assign a dollar value. How much money do you get paid to do that? What's the dollar value of that task? What's the return on your time? We often calculate return on the money that we have, but there is plenty of money available in the world, but we all get limited amount of time. No matter how much we try, we cannot increase the time we get. We get a certain amount of energy, we get a certain amount of time. So we have to be able to really be extremely conservative and extremely stingy with our time. In fact, we can be a bit generous with our money, and I recommend being generous with your money, but you have to be conservative and stingy with your time. You don't want to invest or apply your time to something that's not going to give you money, and it's not going to give you, you can't give time to things which are not giving you significant amount of money. The difference between people who make a lot of money and people who don't make a lot of money is people who make a lot of money focus on bigger deals. That's it. And each task that you have in your day that you have to perform has a deal value. That is a deal. You are trading your time to do that task. So it's a deal. So what's the return on that time? So that's with respect to tasks. Second category is people. Every person that you meet in the day, how much money do they put in your pocket? Every person that you meet in the day, how much money do they put in your pocket? You have to assign a dollar value in front of every name that you come across, every person that you meet. It could be your best friend. It could be someone from the neighborhood. It could be the grocery guy. Whoever you come across, how much money did they pay you? If they're not paying you money, why are you meeting them? So this is a whole framework of removing things out of your agenda, not putting things on your agenda. Making money is a lot of the times an act of saying no to a lot of menial tasks so that your time is available for the big tasks. And we take a lot of meetings that we don't have to take. We do a lot of tasks that we don't have to do. And you will see that people in your life, whether it's your friends or family or even boss or colleagues, they will just assume that you would say yes to things. Yes to birthdays, yes to so many things. And it just creates this, chain reaction of tasks that get added to your daily agenda, and all of these tasks start eating your life up, eating your day up, and they don't give you anything back. A lot of these people are not giving you anything back. A lot of these tasks are not giving you anything back. And I used to really hate conversations about being productive and how to be productive, is because I didn't really like performing tasks. We all feel like, let me just finish all the tasks and then I'll have some free time. How about removing tasks? How about removing tasks that don't pay you? And I realized that the tasks that I had the most resistance towards doing are the tasks that actually don't give me anything. Something that one of my family members would have just imposed upon me, because I'm their family member, and I haven't said no to them. I haven't said no to them in a decade. So now suddenly if I say no, they're going to get pissed off. And this happened with my brother, where he said, why don't you order a microphone from Amazon? And I said, I'm not going to do that. I don't have the time. I'm doing XYZ. And he got really pissed off. And he started to use his leverage and power over me. And this is the reason why we have a lot of tasks on our agenda, is that people in our life, even in personal relationships, even though we don't have an advantage of performing that task, we do it out of fear, or we do it out of guilt. When my mother asks me to do something, I do it mainly out of guilt, because if I don't do it, I'll feel guilty. Or if your boss or somebody in your life is asking you to do something, you're saying yes out of fear. And those are not the reasons why you want to perform a task. You perform a task, your time has to be organized around making the most amount of money. Now, this may not happen overnight. There's going to be a restructuring process that you would go through, where you will slowly draw a boundary around your time, where you will start to say no to those birthday parties that you really don't want to go to. Go to the parties that you want to go to. There'll be very few, but most of the places you don't want to go to, most of the people you don't want to meet. I used to associate with so many people, hundreds of people, and I would have friends, family, health, food, and then money on the agenda. You can't have that. You'll have to remove all tasks that you don't get paid to do. I saw one of the profiles of the guys on LinkedIn. His profile said, if you want project financing for $50 to $500 million deal, reach out to me. So if you have a project worth 50 that needs financing worth $50 to $500 million, reach out to me. What he's really saying is, if it's below 50 million, don't bother reaching out to me. I'm not interested. I don't deal with ticket size below 50 million. There is another law firm, Allen Overy, that I met, and I asked them, we are looking for a firm to represent us, and the partner at the firm said, what's the ticket size? Your project looks good, by the way, but what's the ticket size of acquisitions that you are planning? And I said, between $1 to $20 million. And he says, we are not the right firm for you. We would be interested maybe at a $50 million level. So once you're looking for acquisitions worth $50 million or more, then we would be interested. And he just ended the meeting. And there was nothing else to talk about. And that's my third point, is you want the stakes in which you deal to be high. Whatever the commodity that you're dealing with, you want it to be as big as possible. as big as possible. So you want to get involved in high stakes conversation. If you get involved in many high stakes conversation day in and day out, then the likelihood of you making a lot of money is going to be extremely high. Some of the top bankers I know have ticket size thresholds. They value business meetings based on ticket size. So if you say you're looking for $1 million in financing, then they're going to refer you to the lowest department in the bank. If you say I'm looking for $50 to $100 million, then they're going to connect you with a different kind of bank. And I've met both of these side of bankers. One of the bankers on one side, they look like really pasty and weird. And on the other side, they have these expensive suits. They are extremely sophisticated. A lot of them went to top universities, and highly effective communication, power coming out of their communication. And these guys were on a different league. So what you want to do is, whatever commodity that you're dealing with in your job, or even if you have a business, how can you start trading in commodity that's large in size? If you deal with big ticket items, even if you have a small percentage of that, you're going to make a lot of money. So that's the third factor, is not only that you have to see that each task is putting money in your pocket, but how much money. So every task has to be given a ticket size amount. What's the dollar value of that task? And you want to align your time with the highest ticket possible, and you have to do the numbers. Any job that you're applying for, any business that you're starting, you have to see how many of these things do I have to sell, So that's one strategy to make the most amount of money in shortest amount of time, is just raise the ticket size. And some of the largest things, largest items in the world, largest commodities are businesses. Some of the biggest businesses in the world are worth trillions of dollars. You cannot show me an item that's worth trillions of dollars. There is no yacht, jet, nothing. Even a real estate property isn't worth $1 trillion, right? But you have businesses which are worth trillions of dollars. It's one of the largest commodities that you can trade in. And the whole game of mergers and acquisitions is about dealing with businesses. And it's one of the largest commodities. That's why in the world of business, a $1 million business is a small business, and a $50 million business is a medium-sized business, 50 to 100 million. And that's just keeping in mind the scale of the commodity, the business, right? So that's another factor, is the ticket size. The fourth point is that if you are dealing with something that's not that big, maybe it's a couple of $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, or a couple of $1,000, and you make a small commission on that, how can you use the same amount of time to reach to many people at the same time? So if you're dealing with a couple of $1,000 commodity, you're far better off selling that in a one-to-many communication format, meaning public speaking, or these days public speaking is happening through social media, where a lot of the celebrities are getting rich because even though they are selling something small in size, but they're selling it at scale. And not only that they are selling from one to many, they can record that conversation and it can just keep selling. That video or that content they create keeps selling that thing that they're selling, right? So that's another thing that you want to consider, is public speaking. And when public speaking is combined by a camera and social media, you're really public speaking at the global stage, and you can record that. What I'm doing right now is public speaking at a global stage, and it's recorded. So that gives you an added leverage, the leverage of the machine. So I could be talking to thousands of people through this video, and I put in 10, 20, 30 minutes, and that's a very highly leveraged activity. And that's one of the most productive things that you could do with your day, is public speaking. Elon Musk, He was worth, I think, 10, 20 billion dollars when not a lot of people knew about him. I remember there were some YouTube videos about Elon Musk which had 50,000 videos, 50,000 views, 60,000 views. And all of a sudden he started to go on Joe Rogan and a couple of other places, and everybody knew about Elon. There was one time where I was talking about Elon and people didn't know who I was talking about. You know, Tony Robbins was more famous than Elon Musk at one point. And I was like, you don't know Elon Musk? And there was like, no, it's an electric car company founder. I had to explain about him. And then in a couple of years' time, in a very short period of time, everybody had his name on their mouth. And it's not a coincidence that during that time where everybody has his name on their mouth, his net worth skyrocketed. And that's the exponential effect of public speaking. Same thing happened with, a guy called Andrew Tate. I'm sure you know about him. He started to engage in public speaking so much that almost everybody had his name on their mouth. And that's what you want to do, is that instead of doing one-to-one conversation, we spend our life with one-to-one conversation. We are meeting people one-on-one. But what you want to do is you want to become a public figure. You want to expose yourself to the public. Why? Because if your goal is to make money, money comes from people. You want something that you don't have. You want an amount of money, let's say it's 5 million, 10 million, 100 million. That's an amount of money you don't have. Where does that come from? That's going to come from public. That's going to come from financial institutions. There is a place where it's going to come from. If you want that money to come to you, you will have to expose yourself to those people. You have to expose yourself to people. People are one of the most valuable things in the world. We are the most, people are the biggest value on this planet. There is no machine that's more powerful than a human being or a human brain. It's the most valuable thing. So you want to expose yourself in front of people because money comes from people. So how can you position yourself in front of as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time? And the answer is public speaking. And the answer is, these days through social media, whether you like it or not. I'm not a big fan of it, but I love to use it. It's very effective. And any person, any public figure, whether it's Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, these guys have, some of them have net worths of hundreds of billions of dollars. All of them get involved in public speaking, even though they're introverts. They have to get out there and get their message across. So if you are someone who has been spending too much time one-on-one and you're not in that one-on-one conversation, the deal size is a couple of $1,000s, then you're losing out on making a lot of money. Do that because you have to do it, but you need to allocate at least some time to engage in public speaking gig. I remember when I was sitting next to Dan Pena, I asked him how did he become a public speaker and how can I communicate like him? And he said that do 100 speeches. Go in front of different crowds and do at least 100 speeches and you'll be good. That was a very simple advice that he gave and it has worked. My communication skills have improved. I've done a couple of 100 presentations and I've been making, I think, 200 videos by now. And you want to do this. Either you want to make videos or, better, you can speak in front of the crowd and you can record it at the same time. I'm sure there are many public events that are happening in your city that, if you speak to the host organizer, you could organize to speak at an event. You could start small and slowly increase it. Maybe you could do it once a week and then eventually you can move to once a day and then you can start recording. And before you know it, you'll be making a lot of money because you are exposing yourself in front of a large audience in the shortest amount of time. You're not having one-on-one conversation, you're having one-to-many. The other rule that I have is if I am having one-on-one conversation, I want it to be as big of a ticket size as possible. So when I was building my company and I was looking for businesses to buy, the minimum ticket size was $1 million. If it's not doing $1 million in revenue, I wouldn't go to the meeting. I wouldn't talk to them. I wouldn't want to do anything with them because that's the smallest ticket size. And eventually I moved to 3 million, 5 million and $10 million ticket size. And one of my largest meeting was $120 million. You tell me, have you ever been in a conversation where you were having a dialogue to discuss something that was valued around 100 to $120 million? And that's the exponential power. Either something has to be big in size, or if it is small in size, can you communicate about that product at scale in front of thousands of people? If you can't do any one of these things, you're not going to make a lot of money. You will have to expose it. Even if you personally are not exposed, you'll have to get that product exposed. But the main thing is exposure. Exposure is extremely important. So that's my tip. To summarize, you want to say no to meetings that don't put money in your pocket. You want to say no to tasks, and you want to leave some blank space in your agenda. Stop giving importance to, this is my recommendation, stop giving importance to tasks which may not be that important, and don't let other people fill your time up. What you see on the calendar is actually your life. You're not going to get that back. Once the day is over, it's over. So use it conservatively, would be my recommendation. Use it in a manner where you can get the most amount of return possible, either through a public speaking or by increasing the ticket size of the commodities that you deal with. Again, this may not happen over time, this restructuring process, but I've put this idea in your mind, and I trust that you would do something eventually with it. Maybe in the next few weeks, maybe in the next few months, but let this idea sit at the back of your mind and see how you can restructure and reorganize your relationships, reorganize your time, and don't take on things you don't want to do. Don't take on things that don't give you a return, because what goes out is your life. And don't take meetings where you know you're not going to make any money. There are meetings, even with clients, even with customers, even with friends, where nothing's going to come out of this, but something goes out. That's your time. You can be certain of that. So you almost have to use your time like you're betting. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've done betting, but you want to choose the number or choose the team that's most likely to win. So you got to use your time in a manner with meetings where you're most likely going to win. So those are the meetings you want to take, and the others you just want to say no to, excuse yourself, and don't put yourself in those positions. I remember there were some bankers, if the deal wasn't at least at a certain threshold point, they just wouldn't take the meeting, And I want you to think like that. So that's the video, today's videos, and I'll talk to you soon.